Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Listen, I'm glad to have you guys here tonight. I want to address a few of the concerns. I get an awful lot of comments in the comment section on my channels, and people express concerns about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in general, and I wanted to address some of those concerns of some of the more outstanding comments that I get. One of the comments that I see often is, Bitcoin is nothing more than digital fiat. I get that a lot, and I want to address that concern, First off, fiat currency. It's a currency that retains its value for purchasing and things like that out of decree, and the United States dollar has never really been a fiat currency, An awful lot of people think it has, but in actuality it hasn't. Back in 1971, when Nixon took the U.S. dollar off of the gold standard, it was depegged from gold. Up until that point, it had been pegged to gold, and you could go to the window, the gold window, and you could exchange your fiat. Not the regular general population, but people who, like bankers and stuff, could go to the gold window and they could exchange their fiat for gold. There wasn't fiat, I just misused that term, but exchange their dollars for gold. In 1971, Nixon took us off the gold standard, and we went on to what was called the petrodollar, and it wasn't entirely fiat, the U.S. dollar, and it still isn't, because it becomes the currency that's used to trade oil. So it has a loose peg to oil. Now, that peg has for the most part now been eroded to the point where now there was a time, a long time through history, where you could only buy oil with U.S. dollars. Now it's not so much that way, and so now the U.S. dollar is starting to become a fiat currency, a currency by decree. And all of the other world's currencies, when they took us off the gold standard in 1971, all of the other currencies of the world were pegged to the dollar, and they still are. So what we find is that means that now that the dollar's become a fiat currency, it means that all of these currencies are also fiat currencies. So the dollar has been eroded to the point where now it's being overprinted, and it's going to start to have a currency crisis of the dollar and all the other fiat currencies together. Is Bitcoin a fiat currency? The answer, I would say, is no, because Bitcoin does not retain its value by decree. Bitcoin retains its value by its scarcity. This scarcity is set by computer, and it can never be changed. It's built right into the system of cryptocurrencies that Bitcoin cannot be changed, and there'll only ever be 21 million. Okay, so that means that the scarcity might be artificial and set by computer, but it's very real in the real world. Bitcoin, there will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. And that's how Bitcoin obtains its value, is by the limited supply, the cap of the cap of the coin. It has a cap. That's the biggest reason why Bitcoin retains its value. And I've heard another thing that in the comment section, they'll say, well, they can make as many Bitcoins as they want. They can make a new Bitcoin every day, And in fact, they have made a number of different Bitcoins. Bitcoin Cash is one of the more notable ones. But they're not the original Bitcoin. And they don't retain the value of the original Bitcoin. There's only one genuine, real, original Bitcoin, So that argument doesn't really hold too much water either. The argument that they can make as many Bitcoins as they want. because they're not Bitcoin. Yes, true. Anybody could come out and make some new form of Bitcoin. They could call it Bitcoin Unlimited or whatever they want to call it, but it's not the original Bitcoin. It would be similar to somebody coming out and saying that they can make a US dollar and they call it John's dollar and they put their own face on it. It's not the original US dollar and it wouldn't have any value. Okay, so there's another one of the arguments. Another argument I get a lot is, if the power goes out, then all these cryptocurrencies are not going to be worth anything. I hear this argument made all the time. And, I'm going to tell you what. If the power goes out, if the entire world's grid goes down, the stock market isn't worth anything either. The bond market isn't worth anything either. The US dollar wouldn't be worth anything either. They're all digital now. They all run on the internet. They all run with the power supply. All of our money, what we call money, which is actually currency, all runs off of the power supply. So if the power supply goes down, none of it's of any value. And in fact, we live in a world today where we're so reliant upon the power supply and the internet in general, that if the power were to go out for any extended period of time, now you have to understand one thing about Bitcoin, is if the power goes out, your Bitcoin's not going anywhere. It's not going to disappear out of your wallet. If the power goes out for 2 or 3 days or even a week and the power comes back on, your Bitcoin is still going to be there. And it's just that it's going to make it difficult for you to actually use your Bitcoin if the whole worldwide power grid were to go down. It would be difficult for you to actually use your Bitcoin, whereas gold and silver would still be able to use it. And because it exists in the real world, you can hold it in your hands. So the thing about it is, though, now let's take this one step further. If the power did go out for an extended period of time worldwide, after about a week or two, the chaos that would come would mean that there wouldn't be any market for anything. The only thing of really value at that point would be water, would be food, and there wouldn't be a market really for gold or silver either. I mean, think about it for a minute. Say the power was out for 2 weeks and chaos reigned supreme in the world, and you had a bunch of food and water. And some guy come up to your house and knocked on it and he said, I got a nice gold coin here. Will you give me all your water for that gold coin? You'd probably say no, because you don't want to die of dehydration, And so, that argument that gold and silver would be able to, the conditions that create a marketplace would be destroyed if the power went out worldwide. The entire worldwide power grid went out for any length of time. It would destroy all marketplaces, even for gold and silver. So that argument doesn't really apply either. Now, I'm going to tell you about one more argument that I hear that they make quite often, is that the central banks are going to release a central bank digital currency, and that's going to destroy Bitcoin. I'm going to tell you something about that argument. It is true. Very soon they're going to come out with a central bank digital currencies. They're coming. I mean, they are coming fast. It's almost like a race. China's trying to lead the way. China's pushing it out there right now. I guess on a test bed, trying it out to see how it works. I heard Canada today talking about the Central Bank of Canada talking about they need this. They need to get on it right away and hurry. The United States government's working on it. The Federal Reserve's working on their own version of a central bank digital currency. It's going to take them a little while to implement this. But think about this for a minute. When they roll out these central bank digital currencies, they're going to operate in 2 different ways. One is they're going to operate off of a card, a plastic card, more than likely. This linked directly to the Federal Reserve, you know. And the second way they're going to operate is off of a digital wallet that's probably on your phone. Those are the two main ways they're going to operate. But you know, Bitcoin operates right now, and so does all the other cryptocurrencies in the same manner. You can have a Bitcoin credit card right now, and also you have a digital wallet that you can have on your phone for Bitcoin or all the other cryptocurrencies. And there's a little bit of a learning curve here. Learning how to use this process of how to use these coins off of your telephone or the digital wallets also. This learning curve, the vast masses of people out there, you know, have not actually went in and used digital currencies yet on their wallet or on their phone, you know, or on a card yet. You know, they've never used that. They've never tried it yet. They don't know how it works. Well, the central bank digital currencies, they're going to copy them off of the cryptocurrencies. The cryptocurrency is the big invention. When Bitcoin came out in 2009, it was a big invention that led the way for the central banks to have this technology. And so because this technology is already being used in the decentralized cryptocurrencies, then that is going to switch over to the centralized, which is the digital currencies coming from the central banks. They're going to teach everyone out there how to use cryptocurrency, because that's what the central bank digital currency is going to be, is a cryptocurrency. They're going to teach everyone out there in a crash course, and they're probably going to spend an awful lot of money, advertisements on television, to train people, to get people accustomed to using digital currency, you know. And this training is what Bitcoin has been waiting for ages, is to train the masses how to actually use these digital currencies. So the decentralized currencies, this is going to be like a giant training curve that's going to be sponsored by the governments on Earth so that they can get their digital currencies across. But their digital currencies, those are the ones that are the fiat. Now, you think people are stupid? You know, really. People are not as stupid as you think they are. People are not stupid. My audience out here certainly is not stupid. They're a little bit ahead of the curve of everybody else. But, you know, once everybody else learns, it's just a matter of teaching them. Once they learn and they start to get ahead of the curve too, well, you know, these digital currencies that are decentralized are going to be going up in value, because most of them are limited in supply. Whereas these central bank digital currencies, they're coming out, they're just going to send them to everyone out there. And you're rapidly going to see a decline in the purchasing power of these centralized digital currencies. Well, people are there and they're observing this. We're heading toward what's called a crack up boom. A crack up boom. It is a hyperinflationary scenario. And this triggers a response because people lose faith in the purchasing power of their currencies. People are going to be very aware. And this learning curve is going to teach them. And they're going to be very aware that the central bank digital currencies are going down in value, whereas the decentralized digital currencies are going up in value. Which one would you want to own? And even the people that are living under a rock someplace and don't understand any of this, the government's going to teach them. And once they learn, and they learn that the decentralized digital currencies are going up in value, whereas the government-sponsored ones are going down, which one are they going to want for their savings? To me, it's pretty much a no-brainer. And so the way I see it is, in response to this, the government's going to release these digital currencies and it's going to destroy Bitcoin. I'm thinking exactly the opposite. I'm thinking this is what's going to make Bitcoin. Because it's not only going to teach the masses, it's going to bring them in there to the pool, and they're going to start to use the decentralized ones and the centralized ones. Now, another argument I get an awful lot is the government's going to come along and they're going to crush it. They're going to make it all illegal. And that's going to be the end of Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies. They'll never allow this. I've heard this all along, And, one of the things is the bankers out there, they're not too fond of it. Take Jamie Dimon, for instance. He came out and he voiced his opinion about it not that long ago, maybe a year or two ago. And ridiculed it and everything else. And they would like to get rid of it. It's been around since 2009 till now. It's only ever went up in value. And don't you think that they would have tried, if they were going to get rid of it, that they would have tried already? The only way they can actually get rid of it, because you have to understand that the entire blockchain can be stored on any one computer. An entire network of the internet's got thousands of computers that hold the blockchain. So to really get rid of it, they would have to have some sort of worldwide, unified enforcement. And it would have to be very strict enforcement, When's the last time we seen the governments of Earth, work in a unified way on anything? Seems to me they're mostly all in disagreement on just about everything. And now at this point, they're so much in disagreement that an awful lot of them, there's a danger of war breaking out, because of the disagreements that they all have, on almost every issue. Look how effective they were at stopping this virus that spread around the world. Little or no effect. They were not effective at all. Sure, they get up there and they say, oh yeah, we're ready. But in truth, the government is not like people think it is. People look at the government, they say to themselves, hey, they think of it as a unified body, like it's almost has a mind, like the government does this or the government does that. You have to understand that within the government, there's individuals, and each individual has a different opinion, a different way of thinking, and this is what makes up the government, is all this many individuals. Now, when you move to separate governments, they have different ideas completely again, and so it's a lot more disorganized than people give it credit. People give it credit for being a lot more organized than what it actually is. It's more or less, it's really a disorganized mess. Something just come to mind, is the way they enforce the lockdowns worldwide, And we got some conspiracy people out there who say, oh, this was an organized campaign to lock everything down to accomplish whatever purpose, But think about it for a minute, really. Why it actually probably happened is the world leaders observed what happened in China, and they saw what China did. China locked down, and China got rid of the virus. So they all said to themselves, hey, it was more or less a copycat thing, They all observed what China did, observed China's reaction, and then what happened is then they started. Italy started next. They locked everything down when the virus came to Italy. And then the other countries observed what Italy was doing, and it was more or less just like a follow the leader sort of a thing, where they all fell in line, and because they observed what the other country was doing. The world leaders would sit there in Germany, and they would observe what Italy did, and then they did it's all copycat sort of thing, almost like, when you go to a school and they tell everybody, okay, you're going to learn to pledge allegiance, and they all get up there and they start pledging allegiance, and they all do the same thing because they're looking over at the kid next to them and see what he's doing, and then they see he's doing it, and then they do the same. That's how it's human nature, and that's how governments work. And this is the reason why all of these governments fell in line, because they observed the government next to them doing the same thing as they were going to do, and then they all fell in line. China started it because China was the first one to lock down, and started this lockdown business. And then they all observed what China did, and then they all fell in suit. And it just, now what they've done is they've basically crushed everything, because this was probably the wrong way to go. And now the world is on the edge. But this is only going to help to promote Bitcoin. All of this chaos is leading to the governments massively overprinting their fiat currencies. What's the end result going to be? Probably Bitcoin doing a moonshot, and probably gold and silver doing a moonshot. And if it's probably not going to last forever. Bitcoin, gold, and silver are all going to take a moonshot to the moon. But when the Bitcoin, gold and silver price goes to the moon, the mines it's going to create a new mining revolution. And this is one place that Bitcoin has a super advantage. Okay, I'm going to tell you about the advantage it has. It's a hard limit, 21 million, right? We don't have a hard limit on gold and silver. Gold and silver price shoots to the moon. What do you think's going to happen? Well, first, people are going to start selling back into the market. People that have been stacking for years. Well, there's a big supply coming back in. And then the mines, they're going to suddenly see massive profitability. And there's going to be a mining revolution, a gold rush like you've never seen before. Gold production and mining production will go way up. By that time, the virus will probably be gone. Gold and silver mining production will go massively high. And all of a sudden, you got a flood of gold and silver coming in from every different position. And then you see the markets fall. You'll see the markets fall. For you guys out there who are holding gold and silver, you want to hit that peak. And say you miss the peak. And it falls. Well, there will be a dead cat bounce. If you miss that dead cat bounce, then you might ride the whole thing out. It's an entire possibility, that the stackers will be holding their gold and silver, and some of them are going to hold it right through the whole thing, where it goes all the way up to its peak, comes back down, dead cat bounces, and then goes back down again. Now, okay, it'll never go back down to where it is right now again. But it'll come back down in price. This is the way markets work. They have their period where there's almost manic buying, and we haven't entered into that period yet for gold and silver, but that's going to come, and it's going to drive the price up massively high. And then what happens is all that enthusiasm, and then there's a big crash. And then there's a dead cat bounce back to normal again, and then it crashes off and goes down all the way down into the abyss, after that. So it's best not to ride the whole thing out from start to finish, Anyway, this is going to be the end of the fiat currencies. And this central bank digital currencies that's coming out right now is going to completely crush the fiat currencies. And in the end, what they'll have to do is they'll have to come out with a new central bank digital currency that's pegged to something like gold or silver or Bitcoin, And I'll tell you, I don't know which it's going to be. I see gold and Bitcoin as being in a war with each other right now as to which one is. I think that they're going to peg some of the fiat currencies to gold, probably the yuan. The Chinese is probably going to be pegged to gold. Probably. I'm not sure, but it probably will be. And over here in the West, we don't have that much gold to peg to our new central bank digital currencies. So when they finally realize that they got to peg it to something to have some value, I'm thinking to myself over here in the West, probably in America or England or, they're probably going to peg it to the Bitcoin. You'll probably see the central banks starting to buy up Bitcoin, massive quantities of it, to peg their currency to. What's the price for Bitcoin going to do then, So, what you want to have is, if you're a smart investor, you want to be not rigid in your way and say, oh, I'm only going to have gold, you want to have a little bit of cryptocurrency and a little bit of gold in your portfolio, and maybe you don't want too much, but don't go all hog on it, but you want to have some of it. You want to have some of both, you know? And if you're not a big time investor, say you're just a person that has a little bit of extra money, maybe you got a little inheritance or something like that you want to invest, you want to have a little bit of Bitcoin, you want to have a little bit of gold, and you want to have a little bit of silver. You want to have all three of those. Because I think there's going to be massive profits coming into all three of those when the destruction of fiat finally hits. And I think we're getting awfully, awfully, awfully close. I think your days are numbered now at this point before they print these fiat currencies into oblivion. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. And we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.